Hello fellow crafters, Janine here, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made this really sweet, really cute card for my husband. It involves some watercoloring, some die cutting, some stamping. It's got a little bit of everything. So if you would like to see how I made this really sweet card for my hubby, stay tuned. On a piece of watercolor paper, I just laid down some light blue for the background, leaving some blank spaces for clouds. And then with some browns and greens, just sketched in a pastury kind of background. And then applied some water to kind of blend and smooth out the pencil marks. And then I got to realizing that the color wasn't as vibrant as I wanted it to be in the pasture. So I started scribbling some of the pencil onto the side of my paper and wet it with water and applied some more of the color over the top, and then that gave it a little bit more vibrancy of color like I wanted. And yes, I'm not a watercolorist or an artist, so I did realize after I got started that I did this really backwards, that I probably should have started with the tree, but oh well, what was done, so I just worked with it. But here you can see I just sketched in the basic shape of the tree, and then it went several different shades of brown and greens, and kind of a yellow green for highlight, and then kind of a dark gray brown for depth and dimension, and just kept going over it again and again with the different colors until it achieved that kind of depth of color and gave it a textured look. And here you can see I'm getting ready. I'm about to start putting the canopy on of the tree, and so I just scribbled on some of the different colors I wanted to do that with. And with a brush, I just used a wet brush and went into those colors, and then not with a brushing motion but with just a dabbing motion, just dab the color on. Like I said, by this point I realized I'd kind of messed up, and so I didn't want to completely ruin the project and by brushing the color on too heavily, and then it would have it would have taken away some of the dimension from the tree. So I let that dry for a little bit, then went back and added, I just kept adding, let it dry a little bit, and then went back and added more layers of color, let it dry, added more layers of color until I had some of the depth I wanted. And then with some different colors, I just dotted in the background there in the field to make it look like a field of wildflowers. And then with some different greens, I went in and just did some wispy strokes to make it look like grass. And then I wet those little dots of color so that it would kind of blur them out and they wouldn't be such sharp dots, just to make them look like flowers off in a background. And then here you see I scribbled on some of the more of the colors that I used to finish out the tree and give it more depth of color. And again, I just dotted just kind of dappled the color on. And that's it, it's all done. Alright, my little watercolor picture has had a chance to dry now, and I'm pretty pleased with the way it came out. I mean, understanding I'm not a watercolorist, this is really kind of my first time at this. I just purchased these watercolor pencils, so this is really a brand new medium to me, so there's going to be some learning involved, but for a first time I think it came out pretty good. And considering all the other stuff that's going to be done on top of it, I think it's just going to really not be noticeable that I'm no professional. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the inside pieces on, or at least just these couple of pieces, and then I'm going to start working on the outside and come back to the inside in a little bit. Okay, now that's all I'm going to do on the inside for right now. Since the water did cause this to curl a little bit, I've been trying to decide what's going to be the best way to adhere this where it will, and I'm guessing the dot runner, because I really need it to hold it down rather flat, and any kind of wet glue product would take too much time to dry. So I'm going to see if this I don't know that my concern is that the dot runner is not going to be a strong enough adhesive. And maybe if I use enough of it. Good lesson, make sure it's laid down. It's better aligned when you lay it down, because once it's down, it's down. Oh well. Alright. I have just recently purchased my first set of photopolymer stamps. And I'm just trying to start simply and get stamps that I'll get a lot of mileage out of. So I purchased an alphabet set and then a simple sentiment set. And I got them from an Etsy store. Let's see. It was God Bless Your Art Etsy shop. And I will put a link to that in the description down below. But anyway, they're really pretty, and I really like the font. And then she has these little boxes, text boxes that you could, put your text inside of, also to kind of frame it. But I'm not using that. I'm just going to be using the letters to express a sentiment to my hubby, because this is an anniversary card for him. And also have on order an acrylic stamping plate, but it hasn't come in yet. So in the meantime, I was trying to figure out how on earth I was going to get this stamped, because I'm not very patient. I want to do this now. So I had this little piece of leftover piece from when I was casting in resin, and it's clear and it's square, and it's working. So I'm going to go with it. So I do have the first couple of letters, and I was just before I start stamping, I just want to make sure I like the placement. So those are the first couple of words, and then I'm going to lay out the rest, or as much of the rest as I can. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think that's exactly where I want this sentiment. So let me grab my ink pad and ink this up, and I'm going to look at it one last time and make sure it's pretty straight. Let me zoom in a little bit too. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna put these little letters back on the sheet for storing, because she has the letters actually printed on the sheets. Really nice. This is I don't know a lot about stamps yet, but I tell you, for this being a first set that I bought, I'm really pleased. Oh wait, one more thing I did want to do. I almost forgot. Let me take these letters off my little block here. Of course, because there's more thought process to this sentiment. So she even did, there's comma, which also can act as an apostrophe, and there's a dot in here for a period at the end of a sentence, obviously. So I'm going to ink that up, because there's more of the thought process for this sentiment. So I'm going to go dot, 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 and that lets him know that This thought is continued on the inside of the card. I have to be really careful with this little bitty stamp because it is so tiny. But anyway, she does have quotation marks in here, a comma, a period, a question mark, and turn around, and also all of the numbers. So it's a pretty complete set of stamps. I tell you, I'm really impressed for our first purchase. I'm really pleased. Okay, the decorative paper that I'm going to be using for the leaves came from this pack of paper. It's one I got from Walmart, and it's called Darling Jewel, and I liked it because it has a pretty good range of colors in it, but it had a lot of fall colors, or colors that I thought would work well with a fall themed card. So I picked 4 colors out, or four papers out rather, that I thought mimicked the colors of changing leaves. And you can see I cut them into 2-inch strips and laid them side by side on my cutting mat, because the way I am laying them out in my design software, I'm gonna, when it cuts the leaves out, I'm laying them out in such a way that it'll cut, you know, so many leaves out within this strip, within this strip, within this strip, and so forth. So that way I didn't have to do like one cutting at a time per strip of paper. This allowed me to do it all in one cutting. Okay, the Cricut is through cutting out all of the little leaves, and I just want to show you, I got kind of smart, I guess you could say. This is just the lid to a small box from another sample company that I subscribe to. But anyway, I just got the pieces that I've cut out that are going to be part of this card, as well as the card and envelope. And I just put them in the lid of this box to keep them all together, because I was getting a little frustrated with myself. I would cut things out, you know, from on the Cricut, and then they would be all over my desktop and pieces would get lost. So I decided I needed something to kind of keep everything together while I was making different parts of the card and assembling it, so that everything would be together. So if I had to move it, everything moved together. So anyway, let's go ahead and see what we've got now that the cutting is complete. This is my favorite part. I love the reveal. Look at all of our beautiful little leaves. I think I'm going to save these pieces. I always like saving negative pieces from cuts because they make good stencils for other purposes. I may or may not use all of these leaves, but I figured it was, since I was cutting, I just use, you know, all of the strip of paper rather than just a little piece of it. Ta-da! Look at all of our beautiful little autumn leaves. So now what I'm going to do is get my Cricut toolkit. Because this little tool helps. Of course, these little pieces are so small. And this thing's so full of sticky stuff. But this is going to take a little while. I'm going to peel all of these little leaves off of my cutting mat, and I'm going to be putting them in my little box lid so they don't get lost. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll come back when that's done. Okay, now it is time to work with all of those leaves we cut out. And I'm digging through my glue box trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to adhere those little suckers. Okay, now we're ready to start putting down the leaves that we cut out with the Cricut. And I'm just going to use this Craft Bond by Elmer's. It's just a liquid glue. So it's got a nice fine tip, and I can just put the tiniest little dot of glue on each leaf. And I'm just going to use my tweezers to hold it. Put a little glue. And place a leaf. Okay, and this is pretty much what I thought would happen. I've got, a good bit of leaves left over. And I am going to use some on the inside of the card, but I think I'm still probably going to have some left over even after that. And what I do when I have leftover bits like that from Cricut cuttings, I don't throw them away. I've got this envelope that I keep all my extra bits and baubles in, because you just never know. There might be something else, another project that comes up that I can use them. And rather than having to recut, I've already got, a number of little scraps and things that are perfectly usable for another project. So I definitely won't throw those away. So I don't want to work on the inside of the card until this is completely dry. And I might just leave it for a little bit, come back and look at it and see if there's any other spots where I might want to fill in with a few more little leaves. But for the most part, I think we're looking pretty good just the way we are. Right now I am beyond happy with the way this is looking. So, be back in a few. I'm still having a little issues with smearing my ink a little bit, but I think I'm getting better. Okay, I'm just going to set that aside for right now. I cleaned it off. I'm anxious to go ahead and start putting some more leaves down. I think that does it. I think any more and it would just be overkill. Let me zoom in a little bit and so you can see it a little bit closer. There's the inside. And the cover. And just because I know my husband, and every time I make a card, because he encouraged me to sign my cards and other artistic items that I give as gifts, he's encouraged me to sign them. And so whenever I show him a new card that I've made, the first thing he does is flip it over to see if I've signed it. So I know, even though this is a card to him, he's gonna flip it over to see if I signed it. So this is one of the wooden block rubber stamps that I got from Walmart. They're from Hampton Art. And so I always use this from one on the back of my cards. And then Couldn't find an ink pen. Then I just sign my name and the year. And I promise you, he will turn it over and he will look for that signature. He cracks me up. But he's awesome. Anyway, this is it. The completed card. If you like this project and you would like to see more of them, please give me a thumbs up and remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you have a great fall season.